Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Obviously, I have a little change in scenery today. It's a weekend and the apartment's kind of noisy today, so I tried to go to the quietest place possible. So we're here in the bedroom. As you can tell by the title, we're gonna be just having a little chit chat because I've had a crazy filming schedule and I kind of wanted to just throw something in where I didn't have to get messy, didn't have to get my hands dirty, and where we can just kind of sit and chill out together. So I want to preface this by saying that all of this is opinion, okay? Please don't get offended by anything I say in this video. It's purely just what's going on in this little acorn. I actually even opened up my question box to get suggestions on what you guys thought were like gimmicky slash seemingly useless products in, you know, the hobby right now. And there were things that got brought up that I personally like wholeheartedly disagree with. But I don't take offense to it because my experience is not going to be the same as someone else's. What I might find useful might not be useful to the next person. So just keep that in mind as you watch this. I'm going to first go over my list that I've curated, and then I'm going to just quickly go through some of the other things that you guys brought up, and I'll just give you my thoughts. And yeah. Don't get offended, okay? We're just gonna jump straight into the first one. I feel like people are going to wholeheartedly disagree with this, and I completely understand why. You are valid in your opinion. But for me, the number one has to be the Coco Core pole. I can't stand those. I can't. Those were actually the first moss poles I had ever used. So just a quick very quick backstory. I have been growing plants, house plants, since 2011, 2012 is when I really first started getting into it. All of your basic stuff, things that you would get at like a grocery store, at a nursery, whatever. And it wasn't until maybe 2017 or 2018 actually that I got like my first imported aeroid. One of the first plants I got was the philodendron melanochrysum and the, was it a Billy? I don't know. I can't really remember what my first two imported or whatever rare plants were. But when I had the Milano, I got it onto a Coco Core pole, and I had never used a pole really in my life before. Even with the Monsteras that I was growing, you know, in my 20s and stuff, like I just would always use like a stick, like some kind of stick, like, you know, those metal stakes that you get from Home Depot. So the concept of using like a moss pole or any kind of pole where like the aerial roots could adhere to it, just not on my radar at all. So I got the core pole because that's what was available at the store. I had no idea how to make one. I just not a single clue on how to even like DIY a pole, nor was I really like wanting to at that point. So I just grabbed what was available at the store, and it did nothing for me, honestly. Like, besides providing support for the plant, it never stayed wet enough that the aerial roots would like feel it's there. Even if I had like it tied up against it, the aerial roots wouldn't activate, or it would just like grow off the pole. Like it almost didn't want to climb it. Now, I've read a really juicy, spicy thread about what the best moss pole is, and when I brought this up in another video, a lot of you were like, oh, I read that thread too. And you guys, people got really huffy and puffy, and there were some people that just swear that the core pole is the best. Like there's no reason to keep it damp or moist. Sorry, I said the word damp or wet. That the plant would grow on it just fine. It just needed support. Other people were saying, you know, the roots can't root into it, you can't form the secondary roots. And then the core people were like, yes, it can, it's just as good as a regular moss pole. My opinion, just by experience, having used pretty much all kinds of poles out there, I don't like it. I really dislike it. I found that it did nothing for the plant in terms of support. To me, it's not gimmicky. It is support. It works for some people, but for me, I found it to be completely useless. So that's a pole that I would never ever use again. I would much rather even use like the netted moss poles that I really don't like. I would prefer that over the core pole, 100%. I would never bring another core pole into my house. Doesn't mean that it doesn't work, doesn't mean that it's the wrong kind of moss pole to work. What? Doesn't mean that it's the wrong kind of moss pole to use. If it works for you, then that's great. But to me, that's like the #1 useless plant product in my opinion. Okay, so this next one actually came into my life because one of those like Amazon sellers wanted to like send me product and do like a review, and I get so many of those, I never agree to do any of them. But it's those little teeny tiny halo lights that you put over a single plant. Now I need to bring up some specs really quick before I get into it, and should have looked into this before, but here, bestseller. This is the bestseller. I'll throw in the one I'm looking at. I'll throw the one I'm looking at right here. So before I go into the specs of this, my issue with these are that, not really an issue, the reason that I find it gimmicky is because unless you're using it for a plant, like I could see it being used with like a cactus or something that's really, really, really slow growing. Anything that you put under it is gonna outgrow it pretty fast. And even though it's adjustable, it's not adjustable that much. It says that it's adjustable from 7.8 inches to 26 inches. Okay, 26 inches is pretty high, but the it's only 10 watts. 48 LEDs, 10 watts. Some of the other ones are only 5 watts. So it really just depends which one you get. I don't know, I just can't imagine really using it. It doesn't seem really practical. If you're growing like as many plants as we are, it's kind of, it just makes more sense to either put it by a window or just get like a bar light where it can illuminate multiple plants. I could see, like I said, I could see this being used like if you're in an office or something, like you have one office plant, you don't have any windows or anything, fine, that's great. But like imagine trying to use it on like, I don't know, a gloriosum. Like it's gonna get in the way. It's like it's gonna obstruct it. I don't know, I just don't find it very practical. And it just, yeah, it seems really gimmicky to me. And even if you did it on like a trailing plant, even if it's like what, 5-10 watts, as the plant trails, that light right here, it's not really doing anything for the other leaves that are growing down here. So in terms of like where I'm gonna spend my money, I would much rather purchase like some kind of bulb that can go into like an actual light fixture, or like a bar light, or like a panel, something that's stronger for one, something that's not going to get in the way of my plants where I don't actually have to put it in the plant. Yeah, I would much rather spend my money on that rather than this just little tiny halo, because I actually saw one in person and it was like, I don't know, it didn't look it didn't look very bright at all. Of course they all are made differently. Some of them have better specs than others in terms of like the brightness, the LEDs, like the max height that you can adjust it. But I personally just would never use it. I don't know, and it just looks kind of weird. I can't see myself like actually putting it in one of my plants and like wanting to see it every day. I know that like looking at grow lights either isn't really ideal either, but this to me is significantly less appealing to look at. So that's all I'm gonna say about it. I don't have any experience with it. There's a part of me that's like, maybe I could try it with like, because I have no office plants because there's like no light in there. So if I wanted to maybe have a desk plant, maybe I could see myself using it. But to me, it just seems like a gimmicky thing that someone has created to capitalize on the plant community. I don't know, just my opinion. The next one is one that was actually one of the most commented answer when I put up my question box, but it was already on my list, and that is moisture meters. I used to use moisture meters before, back when, I don't know, I didn't really know much about houseplants, and I had a lot of big plants where I didn't know how else to tell if it was wet or not because they were like in big plastic pots or big ceramic pots or something. But the issue that I ran into with the moisture meter is that I thought that you could just keep the moisture meter in there all the time and then it would just tell you, like I could read it like when it was getting drier and drier, but because they're made out of like the metal prongs, it starts to rust. So you can't just leave it in there. You actually have to like walk around with this moisture meter, stick it in, go to the next plant, stick it in. And I don't know, I found that it wasn't really accurate all the time. So I started just doing the chopstick method or the finger method, which is way, I mean, it's cheaper obviously, and it's accurate. So with the chopstick method, you literally just stick a chopstick or like a bamboo stick into the soil. I usually do 2 places just to make sure, and then I pull it out. You can literally see if the soil is wet or if it's dry, or you can just stick a finger. If it's not a super deep pot, just stick your little finger in there, feel if the soil is wet. And to me, that's been a way better method to see if something needs to be watered or not. I just really dislike moisture meters. I tried one of my older moisture meters that wasn't rusted yet, but it was like one of my older ones. And I used it on a pot that was clear. So I could see if it was wet or dry, put it in there, and it was totally off. It was totally wrong. So I'm like, what's even the point of these if it's not gonna be accurate? So yeah, just to me, the moisture meter thing is not something that I would use anymore. And even when I was using it before, I didn't use it very long because I realized that, like, 1, again, it was getting rusty, and 2, it just like wasn't very accurate. The next one is fertilizer. And some of you are probably like, what? That's not a gimmick. It's not, you know, useless. Of course, it's not a gimmick and it's not useless, but I just wanted to highlight that in my uneducated opinion, fertilizers are all kind of the same. In my opinion, there's no one fertilizer where it's just like, oh my gosh, this is so much better than any other fertilizer on the market. They're doing something that's so different. I don't know what's in here. It's just some miracle juice. That, I mean, most fertilizer companies are following kind of the same NPK. They all have sort of the same macro and micro minerals, just in different dosing, but it's kind of all the same. A lot of the fertilizer companies will make big claims like makes your leaves shinier than the other fertilizer companies, or guaranteed no root rot. Like, claims like that, like, how could you say that a fertilizer is going to prevent root rot? You just can't. You know, of course, the fertilizer companies are going to brand it in a way that makes it look really shiny and flashy and, like, you know, makes you want to buy it because of all of these things that it says it does. But really, what it comes down to is, like, what's in it. And it's really all kind of the same. So I wanted to also highlight the Super Thrive and what's the other one? Liquidirt, Cult. I'm gonna say Cult because I feel like people who use these 2 products go so hard for it, and if anybody even says one bad thing about it, oh my gosh, they will jump down your throat, and that's because it's happened to me before. So I'm not gonna sit here and say that it doesn't work. I think that Super Thrive and Liquidirt, I've used both of them. I think it's fine. I think it's just like any other fertilizer. Super Thrive is not a fertilizer, but I feel like it works just the same as anything else that's on the market. People swear by Super Thrive. People swear that Super Thrive is like the one thing that's gonna like rescue your plant if it's, you know, if it's dying, or if it's the only thing that's gonna get like a stubborn plant to root. And I don't know. I used Super Thrive for maybe 2 years or like a year and a half. I didn't really see any difference with it, to be honest. Both companies kind of make, I would say, like the same kind of big claims. So let's go to the Super Thrive website first. So Super Thrive is the essential vitamin solution. We are legacy cultivators, home gardeners, and professionals who trust Super Thrive's timeless formula. From stressed plants to producing abundant yield, our unique non-toxic vitamin solution encourages the natural building blocks a plant makes for when under the best conditions, fortifying growth from the inside out. And it says that you can use it for seedlings and clones, flowers and ornamentals, cannabis, orchids, lawn and turf, succulents, trees and woody plants, and also as a foliar spray. It says that it's a vitamin solution, not a fertilizer. Just as the human body needs a full range of nutrients and will suffer from an inferior diet, plants need more to thrive than the nitrogen, potassium, and potash found in most fertilizer products. Dr. Thompson's proprietary plant health promoting vitamin formula contains kelp and vitamin B, producing bigger blooms, greater harvest, and better results. It doesn't brand itself as a fertilizer because it's 0.500. And I know that some people use this as like a soak for new imports, for rotting plants, rehabbing plants and stuff, but I don't know. I didn't really see a ton of difference in terms of using it in the ornamental plant hobby. I have no idea what it's like for using it with like seedlings and clones and flowers and cannabis lawns and stuff. That I have no idea. I'm talking specifically about using it for aeroids. I didn't find it to be like this magic juice that, you know, brought things back to life. If it helps, that's great, but it's not something that I'm gonna like yell from the rooftops that like every plant parent needs to have it. To me, it's just not, it's not a necessity. So then now we're gonna go to the Liquidirt website. I hate when websites don't have like a mobile friendly website. Instructions, is it instructions? Oh my gosh. Liquidirt's website is a hot mess. Y'all need to figure this out. What am I looking at? Oh my gosh. Okay, so I'm just gonna read whatever I see. It's so messy. Like, I don't know what the heck I'm looking at. Liquidirt Complete Plant Nutrition. We are a natural total replacement for your fertilizer, great for all plants. The world's only fully digested elemental all-natural plant supplement system. A full vitamin and mineral supplement with microbial and beneficial bacteria complex, complete microfungi, pH balanced formula to increase growth and nutrition for all plants indoor. For all plants, indoor house plants to gardens, even lawns, yes, flowers, trees, and shrubs too. 100% pet safe, no odor, no chemicals, non-GMO, organic, blah, 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 blah. I just want to see like what is in this stuff. What's in the powder? Only the purest naturally organic ingredients. Okay, but what ingredients? What ingredients are in here? That's what I want to know. Oh, okay. So the power of 18 is far more than a list of ingredients. It's a total nutrition system for plants. Through our zymology process, we change the 18 ingredients into thousands of separate, fully digested and readily absorbable elements. So it has rabbit manure, cricket frass, so scat, poultry litter, bat guano, worm castings, humic shale, mycorrhizae, oyster shell, dolomite limes, kelp meal, gypsum, alfalfa meal, blood meal, concentrated fulvic acid, natural flowing spring water, proprietary mineral blend from organic sources. It's a lot. I mean, I will say definitely that there are a lot of things in here that I feel like many fertilizer companies don't use, but is it all that necessary to our plants in terms of growing it, you know, in a way that satisfies our needs in this hobby? I don't know if I need this. I feel like this can do pretty much the same thing that any other fertilizer does. I don't know. It's got everything that other fertilizer has: phosphorus, nitrogen, magnesium, sulfur, zinc. Here's what I'll say about this. I still don't believe that there is one fertilizer that just trumps all of the other fertilizers, in my opinion, because I don't think this is something that anyone will ever agree on. I think we all kind of have our own bias and obviously our own opinions based on our experiences with our own plants. But like I always say, it's always different for everyone. But I just urge you to not get sucked into fertilizer companies that make really huge claims, because it's kind of, in my opinion, it's all the same. It's all the same. It's a spectrum, okay? But they're all kind of in this little tiny spectrum. It does the minimum that it's supposed to do. So just be careful where you're spending your money. Before you buy a fertilizer that says it's going to do this, this, and this, compare the ingredient list to a fertilizer that's cheaper and more available, and just do your research. So that's why I wanted to include it, because I always see these new fertilizers popping up and it's like, this is the best one, revolutionary fertilizer. Like, dial it down a little bit and just do your research. This next one was another one that was really highly suggested in my question box, and that is self-watering bulbs. I don't know if I'm just some kind of unstoppable moron and I've just always been doing it wrong, but whenever I use these bulbs with the soil, it always drains out really freaking fast. So is there like a trick to it? Because I've never had one where it like drained out very, very slowly. I'll like fill it and I'll put it in a pot that's already been watered, and then within like, I don't know, an hour it's gone. So how is that supposed to help me if I'm like going away on a trip? But then someone else messaged me and was like, it always gets clogged, like the water never moves, it never goes into the soil. So I don't know. I know that maybe not all self-watering bulbs or these like globes are created equal, but I personally just have never been able to use them because it doesn't do what I feel like it's supposed to do. I have seen ones where it's like, you know, the little ceramic spike, and then it has like a twisty knob so that you can attach like a water bottle to it or something, and then that way it doesn't spill out really fast. It just kind of drips slowly out of the ceramic, or like the soil kind of absorbs the water out of that ceramic tip, or that, not ceramic, sorry, terracotta. I think it's terracotta. I feel like those might work a little bit better, but I have no experience in it at all, so I have no clue. But all of the self-watering bulbs that I've ever used have never worked for me. So if you are someone that uses self-watering bulbs, please enlighten me, because in theory, I would love to use it, because then on my long trips, I can water everything, especially my large plants, and then I could stick a bulb or two in there and know that they're gonna be fine the whole trip, and then, you know, my plant sitter can just worry about like all my other plants and not have to worry about the big ones. But maybe I just don't know how to use it, but this was on my list because to me it seems gimmicky because it doesn't work. Another one I have on my list are leaf shine sprays. Let's see what's in a leaf shine spray. And I'm not saying this from a place of just like, oh, I know better than you, and like I would just never clog the pores of my leaves. I used to use leaf shine spray like religiously when I was first in the hobby. This was years and years and years ago. I would use it on my bird of paradise. I would use it on my monsteras, my fiddle leaf figs. I wanted everything to be shiny and like glistening because I thought it looked the healthiest that way. And a lot of the times after I would use them, like after years and years, I felt like the leaves would kind of, I don't know, it would like have this thick layer that almost turns sticky after a while, like as the leaf ages. And I feel like the leaves weren't holding on as long as they would have. But anyway, what was I doing? Oh, leaf shine spray. I just want to tell you guys what is in this. So I'm going to look up the Miracle-Gro leaf shine spray. Of course, it doesn't have the ingredients. Okay. How come there's no like ingredient list? That's suspect. There's my first red flag. Like, it says it contains mineral oils, but like, what exactly is that? I literally cannot find anything about what is inside of this damn Miracle-Gro leaf shine, but it says it's a mineral oil. But now I'm looking at a DIY leaf shine and cleaner, and it says water, vinegar, cast iron dish soap, and coconut oil. I've done the DIY thing before. Oh, I think I used like olive oil or something to shine my leaves before, because someone was like, oh yeah, extra virgin olive oil. Or not someone, but like online said to do that. Did it with a fiddle leaf fig. There was a fiddle leaf fig that I inherited from my friend Erin, and her or the person who owned it before used like an avocado oil or something, some kind of cooking oil to shine the leaves, and oh my gosh, I had the most difficult time trying to remove this thick layer of oil from it. I'll throw in the video here if I still have it. I think I made a reel. It was so sticky. It kind of resembled the residue of when you have like a sticker from like the store, like the price sticker, and then you peel it off and it leaves that sort of like sticky adhesive that's really, really hard to get off. You need like Goo Gone or like you need like hot water or something. It left that residue all over the leaf, and I was scrubbing trying to get that thick layer off. There was nothing that I did could break it apart. It was so stuck on there. I found that after using the leaf shine, it just created sort of that same texture on the leaves, and the reason I noticed it was because a lot of the dust around the house would get stuck onto my leaves, and I'm like, this is doing the opposite of what I want, and it's like making everything really like sticky and just, I don't know, I just didn't like it. So for me now, if I want to make something shine, I will literally just use water or cast iron soap and just give it like a little wipe down, nothing too abrasive, and then you can go in with like a microfiber cloth and just kind of buff it out a little bit. But you want to be careful when you're buffing, because microfiber cloths, they almost have like, I'm not going to say sandpaper, but it has like the same sort of element to like buffer it to make it really shiny. So you don't want to overdo it. And I'll show you a plant that I just did it to recently. My Billietier was looking a little bit crusty. She was kind of just like sitting in the back of my plant room, not getting a lot of attention. And so I'll often try and just give random attention to plants here and there. Yeah, I just, did like a pest treatment. I wiped down the leaves with just water. I didn't even use soap. I just used water, and then I took a microfiber cloth and I just buffed it a little bit, and like, I don't know, this looks really like nice and shiny to me. I don't really see the need for like a leaf shine to make it any more shiny than it already is. It's super, super beautiful. A new leaf popped out shortly after I gave it some TLC, so I think it appreciated that. I should grow this over here somewhere. Anyway, so yeah, you can kind of get the same effect by just using water and like a microfiber cloth. And as more time has gone on, I don't really enjoy the look of a super, super shiny plant. Like, I can always tell when someone uses the leaf shine or uses some kind of like oil or something DIY like from the kitchen to shine their leaves. To me, it looks really unnatural, and I don't know, I just don't enjoy that look anymore. So the leaf shine products are something that I would never buy. I think it is not only useless but kind of gimmicky. The next gimmicky, this one's a really quick one, are those those plant misters. I have a mister, the automatic mister. I love mine. Don't come for my automatic mister. But you know those ones that, I'll throw in a photo here, those ones that you just, it's got the little pump and you just, I hate those. I have seen some people use it, like people that I follow on Instagram that like I adore and like look up to. I don't know if that's like any different, but I usually see them only using it for like little pings or little carnivorous plants. But every single one that I've used, I've probably owned 4 of them. Not only does it not pump out enough water to like do what I need it to do, but the thing always breaks. The little pump always breaks, or like the nozzle just ends up leaking, and they're just, in my opinion, poorly made. They look really pretty, like, I'll admit, I probably should get one just for decoration to put on a shelf because it's like plant decor, but that's the reason why I've categorized it in like the gimmicky area. I feel like it's one of those things that you like give as a gift, as like a, oh look, it's a plant thing and it looks really pretty, but the practicality of it is not really there, and I will never ever own one of those things again. Talking about misting, I've seen some people selling like these fancy humidity trays where it's like deeper and like I don't know, there's like pebbles at the bottom and then you add water and then you put it on top of your plant. To me, any kind of like humidity tray thing, no matter how it's designed, if you're using it outside of a closed system or closed environment, I just don't feel like it works. I don't feel like using humidity trays actually boosts the overall humidity, if not for just like that few minutes or like the few hours that you have water or whatever, that day that you have it. To me, it just doesn't do much. Inside of a closed system, fine, that's totally different. You can boost humidity in, I've done that where like in my greenhouses, if I don't have enough plants, I'll just put like cups of water out or bowls of water out and it gets nice and like steamy in there. But if I'm gonna use it like over here, a humidity tray would do nothing for humidity if I stuck it here. So to me, people making like all these really intricate 3D printed humidity trays and like branding it as like, oh yeah, it's gonna boost your humidity, and to me it's gimmicky, it's a cash grab, and just not something that I would spend my money on. And then the last one on my list, did I just delete? Why do I keep doing that? I should screenshot this. Okay. To me, this is the worst one. Of the whole list that I listed, did I get it? These gnats driving me crazy. This is the worst one of all, and it's the freaking plant apps. Who the hell is behind these plant apps? Who is it? I know you guys have seen them. The ridiculous ones where it'll be like, it'll show you like something like this where oh my god, he's out for blood. Did you guys know gnats are loud? He went like in my ear and it was loud. I thought it was like a fly, like a fly. He's out for blood. Okay, anyways, it'll like show you a plant, right, where it's like browning like this, and it'll have a scissor, and then it's like, don't cut it off, and then it'll like start grinding up some flour and eggshells and I don't know, fruit punch, and then they'll mix it up and then they'll pour it in and they'll be like the next day, and then they'll show you a completely different plant. Save your plants with our plant app. It's ridiculous. I hate them so much. I don't know why they exist. I really don't. Who first of all, who's even using them? If you're using them, stop it right now. They're so awful. It's like the worst. It's the worst thing I've ever seen in the plant community. I'm not joking. The first time I ever saw an ad for one of these, I thought that they were joking. I hope that nobody is giving them money. I mean, obviously they have to be making some money somehow, because there are so many of these like apps popping up and they can obviously afford ads. So I don't know, just they're so bad. They're so terrible. Please don't use them. You're better off like using like a online resource like Reddit or Facebook or Instagram or freaking even Yahoo Answers. Use that before you use any of those apps. They are so bad. So anyway, now I'm gonna quickly go over this list super quickly. These were 5 other suggestions from different people. So the first one is fluval stratum. I know that there are people out there who are die-hard fluval stratum fans. They swear by it. I will say from personal experience, it's a great rooting substrate for alocasia corms. I've never had anything root as robustly in any other substrate than stratum, but overall, I actually don't really enjoy it as a substrate. The minute you let that sucker go dry, and it dries out fast, toast. Those roots are toast. They're so delicate. Everything will dry out so fast. It's like impossible to keep it hydrated. You have to really keep a watchful eye on it, or you have to make sure it's like in an enclosed system. Forget trying to like, you know, because I can root a alocasia corm in, let's say, pond. I could do it out here. I probably could. In stratum, no way. Those roots would die in a hot minute. There's just no way that like I would be able to keep that thing happy. So for me, I don't think that fluval stratum is useless. I would say, I wouldn't say useless or gimmicky, but it's a little bit unnecessary. It's such an expensive substrate. It has done good things for corms, but if I never have to use fluval again, it would not matter to me at all. It's, yeah, very expensive. It's not that great as, like, I would say a permanent substrate or a permanent medium. And I, like, you know, if you don't have a ton of money to spend in this hobby, and people, you just keep seeing everywhere like stratum is like the best stuff, you've got to try stratum. Don't be suckered into it. Don't feel like you're really missing out on anything. Don't feel pressured into like buying it because you feel like it's going to make you a better plant parent. In my honest opinion, it's not. Don't spend your money on that. You really don't need it. So I have to agree with this. I do think that fluval stratum is one of those things that have been really, really hyped in the community because it's something new, and like, you know, everyone's making all these claims that it's like this magic miracle substrate that's going to like make all your plants thrive. To me, any other medium does just the same as long as you're giving it the right conditions and you're caring for it. So don't feel bad if you've never used stratum because it's super expensive. To me, okay, you're not missing out on that much. Someone suggested make a bonsai kit. In theory, it's a great gift. It's a great idea, but actually bonsaiing is like an art form, and not everyone can do it. It takes a lot of practice and years of kind of training yourself and experimenting. It's not something that you just get in a box, you throw, you know, the plant in there, you throw the seeds in there, and all of a sudden you've got bonsai. If anything, you have a plant in a pot at the very minimum, but will it turn into what you see on the photo of this box? Probably not. So yeah, to me, super, super gimmicky. Would never buy one and would never gift one of these to a friend. Another one suggested was 3D printed poles. I'm sorry, I have to agree with this one too. I find 3D printed poles to be some of the ugliest poles I've ever seen. I just have no interest in using it. And there's ones with all these like crazy designs and crazy patterns, and to me it stresses me out. I don't like looking at it. I don't find it to be even really useful at all. Maybe if anything, like you could use it for Hoyas, but I don't know. It's an unnecessary thing for me. Like I feel like we never really needed to make those in the first place. But if you enjoy it and you enjoy making it and your plants like it, don't let me tell you otherwise. Second to last one is leaf wiping gloves, and I have to agree with this one too. I mean, I'm not going to say it's useless. If you buy them, you can use them. It's going to work. But using regular mittens from a dollar store works. Using socks works. And just using a towel works. You don't need special gloves to like make sure your plants are getting the best care. You can use whatever you have in the house. You can use a sleeve. No need to buy any fancy gloves just to wipe your leaves down. And then the last one that was suggested was rooting powder. I don't really have an opinion on this because I use rooting powder. Do I know for sure that it works? I don't know. I don't really have any studies that I've done. I've never really read any studies on rooting powder, like how effective it actually is. I just use it because I feel like it couldn't hurt. It's never killed any of my plants. Is it absolutely necessary to grow plants? No. Lots of people, you know, are in this hobby successfully without using any rooting powder or rooting hormone. But I don't know. I use it because it doesn't hurt. Once I run out, I might not even buy anymore. But yeah, I don't really have a huge opinion on this one, but it was brought up, so I thought I should mention it. Anyway, you guys, that's gonna conclude today's video. Don't be offended by anything I said. We all have our own things that we like to use. It's nobody's business to tell you what works and what doesn't work. I'm sure there are lots of things that I do in this hobby and things that I use that some people that probably think it's really gimmicky and useless, but it makes me happy. It makes me feel like I'm doing things the way I'm supposed to be doing it, and that's really all that matters. So whatever I say, no matter if you like me or not, don't let me influence you that way. So yeah, that's gonna be it. If there were any sort of gimmicky or useless things that I forgot to mention in this video, I'd like to know what they are in the comments. Maybe I'll do a part 2 if there's enough interest. But yeah, that's gonna be it. Thank you guys so much for watching another video. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up if you liked it, because it helps us a lot on YouTube, and I will see you in the next one.